Hello, everybody. How's it going? Oh, my audio sounds different. Oh, it's because I have my I have my headphones like all the way down. Okay, so I changed the placement of my microphone, so things are going to be slightly different in terms of that. Hopefully, I can work out the audio level though. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's anyone in the stream yet, but I could be wrong. I don't know. We'll see. But it looks like the stream should be up and running fine. We'll see. Okay. So, what are we going to do today? I have completely forgotten what we were working on, other than the fact that I know it's transitions. I think I said, like, I needed to work on this transition, which is why I was procrastinating. So, what we'll do, we'll play this back, listen to what we have so far, see how the transitions work now that we've kind of stepped away for a while, and, you know, we'll either go through and fix some stuff there as I hear it and hear that, you know, it needs to be tweaked. Or we'll just go in and work on this part right here. So we'll play this back and see how it's going. So I think the transitions are actually working okay, so we probably won't have to do too much to them. So I think, yeah, we'll go in and we'll start with this transition. I think what we'll do is just do a white noise drop for now. So it'll be a pretty simple one. We're just going to do it synthesized because it's it'll be faster to tweak it if we do it that way. So I am going to create a software instrument, and then what we'll do here is switch this to ES2, our best friend, and go to the tutorial settings, analog saw, and then we're going to turn off this oscillator and switch to this one because this one has a white noise generator. So we're going to use this one, and then we're going to use one of these filters here, except for I think we'll probably just use the filter 1 because it has this bandpass, which is a lot more, I don't know, what's the word? It kind of like fits the style of a noise sweep better than just like, when you're first getting started, you kind of feel like, oh yeah, the regular low pass filter is what you use. But you'll find out that it's actually, most of the time they're using a bandpass. So they're actually going something like this instead. Just because it thins out the low end and kind of gets rid of some of that stuff without having to like actually EQ it. So we're going to use this, and what we're going to do is we're going to modulate the first cutoff here that we were playing with there to get that sort of sweep sound with this envelope here. So the second envelope, we're going to have this. It's going to be a really long decay, so it just kind of goes like, if I turn this down all the way, it'll go like this. And then we'll kind of tweak that to get it so it's the right length. But I don't know. Maybe we'll probably need it somewhere in here. And what we'll also have to do is we'll also have to EQ it anyway, just because you get this really harsh spot in the high end that we're going to try and get rid of. I just realized my... okay. Oh, hey, Trains in the Stream. Sorry, I just realized that I had my streaming software up on top of the chat, so I couldn't see the chat. Okay. So, how's it going, Train? Okay. So we're going to drop that there, and it'll go something like this. We'll have to turn this down. But yeah, you can see it's kind of, there's a few things that we'll need to tweak. I want the synthesizer here, ES2. So, let's see. First, let's just listen to this on loop for now. I want to get this EQ and just kind of show you guys. There's a really harsh part. If I get this, you'll be able to hear it. But I think it's around here. Yeah, that really harsh hissing sound. So we're going to tame that by cutting this here. And it's, well, there's also one more somewhere around. Right there. So it's hard to get the EQs just right on this one. Because if you cut it too much, you get that weird like hollow sound. But if you cut it too little, it kind of stays there. So we're going to cut it like that for now, just because, you know, we like the white noise, but we also want to make it so it's not like harsh. It kind of needs to be in the background. Sometimes I've spent like a long time just trying to get the EQ on this right, so that it's not like way too up front. And it's kind of nice and thin and in the background, which is what I did mostly with this here. Kind of pushes it back a little. It thins out the presence. And then what we'll do is just lastly, we'll just gradually roll this off here. And now we might stick it in stereo, but I'm just going to keep it mono for now. So, and then we'll have to turn down the volume on this. And we are definitely going to need to adjust the length too, because that's going to be something fun to deal with. So it needs to be longer. Might probably turn up the resonance. And then we'll probably want to also change it so that the volume decreases over time as well. So it doesn't just like stay at the same volume level, it kind of decays. So we'll do, I don't know, something like this. So it kind of fades out as well instead of just getting filtered down. So I think that's working. But I think, you know, now that I'm listening to it, I kind of want to stick it in stereo. So I think we'll stick it in stereo here. I'm going to stick it to mono and then unison, and then we'll get two voices. And that should... There we go. That should do that. And I'm going to turn down the max of the cutoff as well, just a little bit. Yeah, and then I think it needs to be turned down a bit more. Yeah, and we need, I think we need a longer decay as well, just because, you know. Yeah, that's what we needed. Now, one of the fun things you could do with this as well is you could put a delay on top of it. And if you have it at the right timing, I think it's, I think we need like dotted quarter notes or something, or quarter notes, 1/8 dotted, quarter, wait, which one? I think we'll try quarter triplet, see what that is. And then we'll turn up the feedback quite a bit. And what this will do is it'll actually kind of like make it drift out a bit more and sound less like just a straight and more like it's kind of, and it's kind of, almost moving around while it's dropping down. So, okay, 58. I could have just typed that in. That would have been faster. And then I think we'll do a riser here as well. So it'll be like the opposite of this, except for this time we're going to do automation instead of actually using the, what do you call it? Instead of using the envelope here, we're actually going to automate this one because it'll just be easier to work with. So we're going to turn off the cutoff modulation for that one. And then we turn up the sustain all the way so it doesn't decay. Okay. And then we'll just... I wish, one of the things that I really like about FL Studio that I wish Logic would have is if you right-click a parameter, then you could create an automation clip for it instead of going like this and digging through all the ES2, mix and filter, MMF cutoff. That's a bit of a drag to do. So, okay, so this is going to be where the drop starts. So we're going to bring that all the way up there. And we also want to make this one 2 bars. Because you remember like our general rule that we were working with was 2 bars before the end of the section. Start the transition effect. So that's what we'll do here. We'll extend this out. And it'll go like this. And what I think we'll do is we'll probably pull off... No, we'll leave the delay on for now. The delay is fine. But if you notice at the end there, it kind of did like this weird delay at the end of our sweep. That's because the release on this is practically none because we don't care about the release when it's going down. But since this one's opening up, we need some release on this. So I'm going to turn up the release and it'll ease out when we get to the top there. So that's a bit too much, so I think I'll turn this down and also probably turn down the feedback on our delay here. This is why I duplicated it and didn't use the original one because I knew I was going to do quite a bit of tweaking to it. So, am I going a little too fast right now? Hopefully not, but I have realized I've been kind of talking faster than I usually am. That's better. And now one of the other things we're going to do as well is we're actually going to curve this because automation curve tool, because if you notice, we don't really like, if we have it default, we don't really hear it till like there. So then it's kind of like this whole region over here is pretty much useless. So we're going to curve this, which means that it'll pick up to that point to where we are hearing it. So if you notice, it was about at this height. So if you remember this height, then actually, you know what? I'll just put a point here for reference. So it's kind of like about there was where we were kind of working with. Now, if I curve this over here, you'll notice that we get to this height at about here instead. So it picks up a lot faster. Have you tried doing the sweeps in Alchemy? I find it a little easier to do in there. I haven't, just because I tend to use the easiest tool to do it in, like, easiest in terms of not necessarily like the fastest tool to do it in, easiest in terms of like the functionality of the tool. So this one has less functionality than Alchemy, so I'm using this one to do it just because in my eyes it kind of like the things that I need to pay attention to are reduced, so I don't get lost as often. You know, sometimes when I pop open Alchemy, I'll like I'll be like and I'll just kind of sit there for a second, then I'll click on, I'll like say I'm gonna do something, sit there for a second, like and then I'll go do it. That's because like I'm getting lost in the mess of controls, partially because I'm not too familiar with Alchemy in terms of like, you know, I've just been using ES2 for so much longer because it's been in Logic for so much longer. So yeah, you don't have to do automation. Yeah, I would imagine Alchemy definitely has ways to make it easier. Yeah, but it's just like, you know, simplicity's sake, if I was just doing a simple noise sweep with a low pass filter, I actually would have gone to ESP, because ESP has ways that it's like even simpler. So it's just kind of faster to work through it in terms of like not getting lost in all the settings. So so yeah, that's the reason I'm using ES2 for this. I mean, yeah, you could probably do it faster in Alchemy. I just don't use Alchemy quite enough because, like I said, ES2's been in Logic for so much longer. So I've had a lot more experience with that one. Like I've had like a year and a half of working in ES2 and 100% knowing what I've done. Even though I say that I've been producing for 3 years, it took me about like a year to really know what I was doing in things like ES2. Like I could tweak stuff, but I wasn't 100% sure what I was tweaking and how I was tweaking it and how that really made a difference. So that's why, you know, I just have a lot more experience in ES2. So nothing wrong with using Alchemy. You're right. There are probably other ways or faster ways to do it in Alchemy. Yeah. Okay, so I think we need to pull this back a little bit more, because you'll notice when we had this here, it kicked in earlier. It kicked in about here, but that still wasn't quite as early as we wanted. So I'm going to pull this back, and that should give us a bit more. And we're going to make the attack kind of fade in just a little bit so it doesn't cut in too early. Okay, that's pretty close. We'll make this curve a bit more extreme so that it kind of goes up a bit faster when we get to the end instead of just going up like. We'll make it go like. So if you kind of get what I mean. Yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll get the fade in here. Now that we have it kicking in so that the filter is not the cause of it being a low volume, we could actually fade it in using this. Or alternatively, we could do volume automation, but I don't want to mess with that right now. Cool. So that's pretty close. I think I kind of just want to add more resonance. Resonance is one of the things with noise sweeps that you could almost never have enough of, because even if it gets to the point where it's like this much resonance, just take a listen to this. It's like, that's still a style of noise sweep, even though we have it almost all the way up. The only reason I didn't put it all the way up is because if you actually have it all the way up, you know, I'll show you what happens. It just turns into like a sine sweep almost. So we'll put it, I think we'll put it like right here-ish. See how that sounds? And now, one of the things I'm curious about right now is if we drop on our mastering limiter, how does it squash this noise sweep? Because what I kind of want to do is I might end up sidechaining the noise sweep here underneath of this this little drum fill, because I think that sound cool and it kind of sound, you know, like it fits. But sometimes when you have your mastering chain on, it already does that, because it's like, you know, it's following the noise sweep because that's pretty much all you have. And then you have like these drum hits, which are a lot bigger. So they start to push down the volume and affect the compression a lot more. So then it kind of makes it sound like you're side chaining the noise sweep. So we'll just see how this sounds with the limiter on. Okay, I think we need to turn this down a bit, just because the noise sweep, it's kind of, it's a little bit too upfront. That's better. Okay, let's listen again to the transitions here. See what we could, see what we need to work with. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy this reverse crash that we have over. So we have like two things layered on top of each other for this part. One second. I am having a thought. What sort of sound would I need for that? Okay, so I just need this one. So we'll do, copy this over. This might sound good. Okay, where's the last hit? We're going to cut it out for the last hit here. Drum hit. So we'll do this. Our reverse cymbal here. We'll cut off there. And then what we'd need to do with this one, if we wanted to do that, is we'd actually have to volume automate and cut this out as well. So we do this. This is a experimental move here. Bear with me. Doop. So it goes like this. I don't know. Maybe we should move it an eighth note forward. I might do it. Cut you there. Try that. Oh, hey, Avarti. I like that better. No, you are not the only one that gets annoyed with Logic's automation system. I like some aspects about the automation. Like, when it comes to clicking in stuff, I really like it. But when it comes to like snapping and finding the right, what do you call it? Finding the, hold on. Finding the right parameter, snapping so everything's like on a grid and things like that, that really bugs me with Logic. It's just not good for that. But like these curves and stuff are so much nicer than working with FL Studio, for example, because I could do like a whole bunch of different types of curves by just moving in different directions. FL Studio, you actually have to like select them, and it's kind of a drag. So yeah. So what we'll do here is see if we can fade that out a bit more. So it goes like. Okay, and then we'll fade out this reverse cymbal over here. So I kind of like that bigger space, that bigger pause that we have there. I think it sounds nicer than just like that short pause that we kind of had. So we'll move this out here, and then we'll curve this down. Oh, come on. Let me see. Curve this down. There we go. Is that what I want? That's what I want. That's perfect. And then now I kind of want to go back to this one here because we did the same thing, but we did a shorter section. I kind of like that one better, actually. For this section, just because it kind of sounds like it's fading in and then it like backs off and then jumps back in. It's a really cool effect. I kind of like that. So even though it is like, it's not as, I don't know what the word is, standard, I guess, as doing this. That one is a bit more standard in terms of a transition, but I think this one's like has really cool flavor, so we'll keep this here. We'll keep them both, is what I'm saying. That's a really cool pause there. I like that. Some people will listen to the track and think that that was a mistake and I wasn't trying to do that. Other people listen to the track and think it was a really cool effect. So, okay, I saw in FL Studio my friend can automate from any value and go directly down to 0. Is there a way to do that in Logic? Okay. So, automate from any value and go directly down to 0. I mean, there's like, you know, say we're at any value here, then we just drop it down to 0. I mean, there's that. But if you mean like having it go like this, so that it's like, if I could zoom in here, Logic is not good at doing this, like instantaneous changes where it looks like a straight line down, if that's what you mean. Yeah, okay, Logic is not good at that. It's not made for that. And realistically speaking, it makes sense because parameters, if you think about it in terms of music, like doing that with parameters is not natural, really. So what I found is it's a little bit more tedious, true, but doing these things where you kind of, you know, you have a very slight slope is a lot more natural in terms of sound. So now sometimes it takes more time to line it up because, you know, it's not just like an obvious cut, like instantaneous cut. So you need to line it up just a little bit better, but it's more natural in the long run, I think. So yeah, that is something that you kind of have to keep in mind when you try to do the 90-degree angle there. The points will just like overlap each other and one will disappear. Logic's not too good at that. Like I said, FL Studio is a lot better at that. Like that's what I meant by grid snapping. Logic does not have automation grid snapping, for better or for worse. It really depends on how you look at it. So in my eyes, like it's a little bit of a hassle, but like I said, I kind of feel it's more natural anyway. When you have like 100% grid snapping on all your automation, it kind of starts to become a bit of a pain to get things to sound natural instead of just sounding like everything's quantized. So yeah. And then one other thing that I do want to mention is I can't stand in FL Studio how if you go to move a point like this, it slides everything after it forward. So it wouldn't actually do this. It'd slide that other point right here forward. I hate that in FL Studio. I cannot stand that at all because I'm used to just like moving around a point to like readjust it instead of like moving this forward a bit and then moving everything back a bit. That's an annoyance for me. Okay, so let me listen to this transition a few more times just to make sure, just to convince myself that I do actually like it. Actually, you know what? We're gonna add a synthesizer. So what? Actually, we're gonna do two things. First of all, right here, you notice in our first verse, we just kind of instantly dive in with that effect. The vocal part, you mean the one the drop synth that we made? I don't know. I really like how it is right now. So what we're gonna do here is, like I said, it just kind of drops into the transition really fast without any forewarning. That's kind of annoying. So what we'll do is we'll get the kick and we will mute it for this area. So if my keys will work, there we go. It worked. Handy. So what we're going to do now is we need a ghost sidechain. So we have our regular stack. I'm going to copy these in actually. You know what? We'll just move them. It'll make things easier. And then unmute those. So this one's not going to have any output. So it's just going to go to bus 20. Bus 20 has no output already. So this one's just going to end up being a ghost kick. So it's the exact same properties as our regular kick, except you're not going to hear it. It's just going to be going through the sidechain to keep that little pulse in there. I'm going to try to remove the hats in this area too. See what happens when I do that. Let's try this. I'm kind of curious. I think we need something. Might just have to keep the might just have to keep all the hats in. Backlist Chap says there's a pricey masterclass by Revealed coming up shortly. Should I attend? If I recall correctly, you have a couple years of experience under your belt in terms of just like production in general, right? I think, if I remember correctly, don't remember for sure. Is that the case? Let me know, because that'll actually change my answer here. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we're gonna add a synthesizer here. And so we're gonna add a riser synthesizer here, and we might figure out something else to put in this gap so it doesn't sound so empty, but maybe we could take out the hats as well. So we'll see. Yeah, okay, so you do have a couple years of experience under your belt. That means that I strongly recommend going to do that, because when you're new to production, going to these big things, these expensive things, is really just going to be a waste of money, because you need to get the basics down really well before you go to these other things. Because, like, for example, I would assume if it's Revealed and it's expensive, they're not going to cover the basics. They're going to cover stuff that is a lot more in-depth, and you're also going to get to see professionals doing stuff. So even if they do cover like the basics of EQing, you're going to be watching professionals EQ things professionally. So that's why it's a great thing. But if you're new to production and stuff, then you're going to go in, watch these professionals do basic EQing. You're going to learn how to EQ, but you're not going to learn what's special about what they were doing. And you're not going to learn, like, why they did it right. You're just going to learn kind of what EQing is and kind of the general things you should do, which pretty much anyone could tell you. So yeah, since you have a couple years under your belt, if you really want to get into it and you really want, if you think it's going to be worth your money, because in the end that decision's up to you, I strongly recommend doing that, because Revealed is, in my opinion, if you're doing Electro House, you're either Electro House or Progressive House or something like that, you're aiming for Spin-In or Revealed. Those are like the two biggest names off the top of my head. There are a few other ones, but those are like the biggest ones that whenever I hear like Progressive House sign, then like my thoughts go, oh, it'd be awesome if it was Revealed or Spin-In or something like that. So yeah, they're like really. They're really up there in terms of, like, if you get signed onto those, then you've almost got it made. At that point, you just need to keep getting better and better inside the label, so that you kind of rise to the top inside the label, and then you're basically like really famous. So yeah, I think it would be worth it, but it's up to you. Kind of look at it. I haven't seen what it entails, so I don't know 100% sure what they're going to be covering. But look at that and kind of look at would I benefit from learning from professionals in this regard. So let's say if there's a kick masterclass and you can make amazing kicks, then there's no point in going other than networking. You could talk to people, you could share, you could bring some CDs with demos. That's an old school thing to do. Excuse me. That's an old school thing to do, but it's old school and it will catch people's attention. So if you just give someone your SoundCloud link, they won't care. If you give them a demo CD, chances are they'll be like, I don't get demo CDs anymore. I'll listen to it. So yeah, going to those just for networking, even if you're not talking to the people in charge of the class, you're just talking to other people in the class. That is an amazing opportunity because these are people that are also aiming for revealed, and chances are, if they're spending the money to go to the pricey masterclass, that means that they're ready to go in head first. So it is a great networking opportunity as well. So there's a lot of good things about it. Just kind of, consider the price. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what the whole price is, what they're offering, and how 100% is going to turn out. So it is up to you in the end, but I think it would be a really cool thing to do, and you probably won't regret it if you end up going. So that's just my thoughts. Yes. The funny things that happen when you zoom out and look at the track names. Best free masterclasses you've seen or watched. That's actually a really great question. I don't know if I already told you this, but I'm going to give you guys all this link because these guys are totally amazing in terms of... okay, copy link. That should be... yeah. Okay, these guys are totally amazing. I'm dropping the... whoops, that was the wrong button. I accidentally hit bookmark. These guys are totally amazing. They get a whole bunch of producers. I'm going to drop it in the description as well, so it'll be here. I forgot that I could... I keep on hitting bookmark instead of paste. Okay, so I keep on forgetting that I could actually edit the description while I'm streaming. And I think a couple times I said I'd put something in the description and I forgot. So there, it's in the description now. For those of you that are wondering and watching the stream. Future Music Magazine, they have, they do the In the Studio with Armin van Buuren, In the Studio with Martin Garrix, In the Studio with Avicii, In the Studio with Hardwell. And to be honest, they don't go too in-depth, but you get to see the projects, and that's the important part. So, you'll see these, for example, you'll see Martin Garrix's track, Animals, and you'll see how he made particular synthesizers in terms of, what stacking did he do? And then when you'll see his channel strip, what plugins does he have on his channel strip? Now, that's a good thing to actually note because you'll find out when you actually watch these people, you'll be like, oh, they have a lot more plugins than I thought they would for this track, or they have a lot less plugins than I thought they would. So those guys are the best guys to watch. Now, in terms of actual free master classes that are, I don't know, more distinguished per se, I don't know of that many. I think there's some by Point Blank. There are some free sessions that they post up somewhere. So look them up. But other than that, I don't know too many. But yeah, Future Music Magazine and Point Blank, those are the ones that you want to look for because those are the ones they actually they get famous producers and they get them in. And even though they don't talk a lot about some things, if you're new and you're watching them, once again, you'll just learn a few tricks, but you won't really get the depth of it. But if you've been... yeah, Point Blank does try to sell courses online, but they do have a few free things. I think there's one that they do with Mach J, and I don't... That one had a lot of cool things in it. But yeah, so anyway, there are some things that you'll find that are if you're just getting started, you'll learn a cool trick, but you won't really know the depth of it. But when you get a lot more used to producing and then you watch some of these things, you'll be surprised at how much you can learn just by they'll show, and then I EQ'd it like this, and you'll be like, oh, so he EQ'd it there because originally there was this ringing sound. So I need to try to find ringing sounds like that in my kick drums and try to mitigate those ringing things. So that's what you'll pick up more as you get to be towards the more advanced levels and you're watching those things. So as a beginner, I don't recommend you watch those too much just because it's a little bit of a waste of your time because you should be spending your time as a beginner practicing instead. But you could still learn some things from them. I just suggest you save them for when you're kind of at a roadblock and you're okay, I know I can really tell what an EQ is doing, but I don't know how to EQ things really right. When I EQ something, it always sounds worse, even though I can hear what I'm doing with the EQ. It's I'm probably EQing something wrong. Then you'd watch those things and kind of learn how they make those decisions and why they make those decisions instead of just that they're EQing a certain way. So, yeah, because it's one thing to know you're supposed to do cuts in certain spots and boosts in certain spots. It's another thing to know where you're supposed to be doing them, like in terms of what you should listen for when you should be cutting and boosting those things, and how much you actually do it and stuff like that. That's a lot more, that's a lot more difficult than just a simple, should I boost the low end or boost the high end? So yeah, my 2 cents on that one. So we're gonna add some synthesizers here. I think what I might do with these is actually, I'm going to take the volume level on these for this area and actually reduce it. So we'll pull the gain down to like -7 on these, and it'll reduce the volume level of the hat. So it kind of pushes it to the back. So we'll do that, and then, like I said, we'll add a synthesizer here. I have no idea what we're going to do for a riser, because it's easy to, like, say you're going to do a riser, but it's harder to, like, come up with a kind of like a creative riser. So we'll drop an ES2 in here for now. I don't know. I'm kind of lazy right now. I don't want to design something from scratch, but I think we need to. So now it's easy to start with a saw to do a riser, because most risers are saws, but I don't know if that'll work with this track because it is a tropical house track. So I don't know. We could do like a combing. Oh. Was my roommate walking around in the camera? Something like that. Oh, okay. I'll get to your question in a second. Backlist chaps. Hold on. So I think, I don't know. What I kind of want to do is, we're going to have this LFO. Wait, this one is non-synchronized. So this one is. So we're going to have this LFO like this LFO like this. How it's just kind of like random. So this one's random. This one's, oh wait, no. Yeah, that's about right. I don't know. We'll see. So we'll put this, I don't know, somewhere around here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something really weird. I'm going to get a, first of all, we'll try getting the volume, which is amp, and we'll route that to LFO2. And the via here, or the via, whatever you want to say, is LFO1. So what am I doing here? I'm getting the volume, which is going to be modulated by this LFO that's going to go up and down. Now, in the middle here, it's going to go between the green and the orange triangles, and it's going to... am I doing this right? Oh, no, what I need to do... Never mind, I'm doing this wrong. Off. Okay, so it's going to go up and down with the amplitude. That's pretty simple. We can change the speed here. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get the... This target now is going to be the LFO1 rate, which... Why can't we do this? LFO1 rate. How do I change the rate? Come on. There's got to be a way to modulate this. Come on. I don't remember what the... Here we go. LFO1... We want LFO2 rate. I can't change LFO... Oh, crap. Okay, we'll have to do it the other way around. Oh, well. So LFO1 rate, that means this one's going to be LFO1. And you are going to be modulated by LFO2. And you're going to be noise. You're going to be up and down. Not going to pull you all the way up, just a... So you kind of see it's just like going around randomly almost. And then what we could do is we could have the pitch rise with envelope 2. So we'll make the attack really long. So it'll be like this. So just kind of as like an idea. That's something that I've never tried before. Okay, so to get to some questions here. What are some tips for overcoming writer's block? I'll get to your questions in just a second. Really, it's like Avardi makes a good point. He says, I personally don't believe that writer's block exists. To get over writer's block, you just have to try something. So I kind of agree with that in some ways. I mean, it's like writer's block is just like when you're stuck doing something, you don't have inspiration, you feel like you can't go forward. Now, my sister is a novelist and an artist, but when she's writing a book, she gets writer's block rather often. And what she'll do is she'll use that as an excuse to not do anything. So if she was watching a stream, she'd shoot me right now. But so she'll hit something that she doesn't know what to do, and she'll be like, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna, sit and wait until I come up with some idea. I'm gonna try to come up with ideas, but not really, not really like force it per se. One of the things that I found is if you force it, you'll end up with something crappy. And that's why my sister doesn't like to force it. But you will not always end up with something crappy. That's one thing you have to keep in mind. Sometimes you'll end up with something really cool that you're like, how come I didn't think of that? And like when I was just like forcing it, that ended up being the right decision. So that's one of the things you'll run into. You won't run into that very often though. So don't try it for that. Try it for this. If you force through it, it won't continue to be forced for the rest of the project that you're working on. So like for instance, let's say I'm working on a track and I need a drop. And then I force through, I kind of just make a drop. It goes, it's a drop, it works, whatever. And then I go through and I start making the rest of the track, and the rest of the track sounds amazing, but the drop still sucks. Then I go in and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to spend some time working on the drop, just trying to like tweak it, try random things, come up with some sort of idea, continue to force it until you get that inspiration. So just because like you force something, it'll get it out of the way for now, and you won't be stuck thinking about that. You'll have other things that you could work on. You'll focus on the other things. You'll go through those a lot more naturally. And then when you come back to it, you may realize that what you did that was forced was actually okay. Or you may have new ideas for how to fix that part that you forced. Or you could just try again and just like redo that part or tweak it up a little bit. So it's like, writer's block is just something that you kind of have to figure out how to deal with. Everyone has their own ways of dealing with it. Just make sure that your way doesn't break down to procrastinating. Now, one of the other ways to deal with it is by not dealing with it in a different sense. So what you could do is sometimes I'll be working on a project and I'll have writer's block. So I'll just drop the project, go on to a new one. There's nothing really wrong with that, because what'll happen is you could actually randomly go back to it and then say, hey, this was a great idea. Why didn't I do this? And then just going back through your projects. Like Martin Garrix did that with Animals. Animals, he was working on an idea. It was kind of working, and they just kind of dropped it. And then he left and then came back a while later. And then he was like, hey, this is great. Why didn't I finish this? And then he went through and he finished it. And then he came up with Animals. Also along the way, he did run into writer's block for a couple things. You could see if you like, making Animals, if you go to like the end of the studios, he'll unmute a section, play it back. He'll be like, this is what I was doing before. And then it sounds horrid. And you're like, what was he thinking? And he said, I have no idea what I was thinking when I did that. So really, we're not the only ones affected by writer's block. Everyone is. And one of the cooler ways to deal with it is just kind of like forget a project for a while, go back to it, and then suddenly you'll have new inspiration. So that's an option for music, because music, you could do that. In a lot of other things, like when you're writing a book, it's not as easy to do that because books are such a long commitment. And like when you're making a painting, it's not as easy to do that because, you kind of need to be in the groove to make your painting uniform. Otherwise, if you come back like a year later and you paint over it again, it's like someone's going to be able to tell. It's like, because either one half is different from the other half, or, you know, just the paint looks different. So, you know, music is one of the cool things to where you could come up with half of an idea and then you're like, this is great, but I don't know what to do with the rest of it. And then just leave it, keep it saved, and then come back to it like 2 years later and be like, ooh, I could do this. And then it'll be really cool. So, yeah. I do believe in getting stuck, but I don't believe in blocks because there's nothing stopping you from trying something and eventually getting over being stuck. Yeah, that is totally true. And I've actually talked with Avardi before, and he was talking about how he kind of felt like he kind of was stuck. And then I did encourage him, and he realized that, you know, there's a lot more that he could just try. Like, even if he can't do what he wants to do, there are other things he could try. So yeah. I think it was like you wanted to do a guitar-based track, but really you can't do guitar-based tracks very well unless you actually have a recorded guitar. So that's kind of what he was hitting, and he was really, really sad about that because he wanted to make a track with a guitar in it. So yeah, so there's tons of things you could do. Additionally, am I busy today? You have a bunch of questions you want to ask at the end. Oh, you would ask now, but they aren't really related to track from scratch. Like I said, it doesn't matter. You could ask me a question anytime, anywhere. I'll answer it. And as for like time after this, technically speaking, oh, actually I completely forgot to start my timer. Oh wow, we've been going for like an hour already. Wow. So, this will probably be a 2-hour stream. Probably won't be an hour and a half just because once we get this transition nailed down here, all I have to do is like finish structuring the rest of the track and then we're like pretty much done with the track. So I'm going to go through and probably do some continuation of the structure. Maybe try a few new things. We'll see. But otherwise, I'll just do the boring stuff of like continuing the like copying and pasting and moving stuff around. So, yeah. I'll probably run the stream a little bit longer. And if you want to ask me questions, like I said, drop them anytime. There's no problem at all. That's the point of these streams. Like, the only reason I'm doing something right now in the streams, I like to say, is because otherwise I'd just be sitting here, you know, waiting for people to ask questions. That'd be awkward. So I have something to do in the meantime. So I know some people aren't too happy about that. They just want something that's like a guide of track from scratch, how to make a track from scratch with like no breaks and everything completely rigid and, you know, do this. But to be honest, if I did it that way, then everybody would just copy what I was doing and they wouldn't really learn from it. So that's why I'm actually trying to avoid that anyway. So no worries. So what we have here is the thing that I was messing around with. Now that said, this is still way too like, I don't want to say harsh, but it kind of is. So I don't know. I'll try to use a triangle. Let me EQ out a lot of the low end. So what I kind of want to do is just... So this is, remember, I always talk about this part being like the presence. So if I turn this down, it'll make it sound like it's less up front. So I'm going to turn that down and I'm going to add a lot of reverb to this. And reverb, space designer. And then what we'll do is just kind of throw this like really drowned out in the background and see how that sounds. I have no idea. It might sound cool. It might sound terrible. So we'll just go through some of these. I think that'll work. And then we'll just need to like turn it down. Something like that. We'll see how that works. And then copy this region over because it's the right length. Don't copy the automation. And we'll have to drop this. If we start here, it starts too high. So we'll drop it. We'll just put it at C1 for now. And then, whoops. Then we're going to increase the attack here so it doesn't... You hear that click? We're going to get rid of that by increasing the attack. Yeah. The ES2 automation gets you really confused. Yeah, automation is something that's kind of confusing. What's even more confusing is routing. Routing is a pain in the butt. Like if you're new to routing, it's like, oh, it's the worst thing ever. I know for the longest time I just completely left this part alone because I had no idea what it did. So actually, I don't really know what these vectors do. So that's something that I have yet to learn. I mean, I know they kind of like they're used for affecting the XY pad here, but I haven't cared enough to play with them. So okay, so let's see how this sounds. Okay, so I think we need to turn up the volume level. But since we have that really slow fade in with the attack, that's what we're going to have to turn the volume back up. Oh, yeah, the routing. Yeah, the routing is really painful. Because, like, basically think of it like automating with various tools. So we're going to automate the pitch using one of these tools, like envelope or the LFO or something like that. So that's why you have the source here is the LFOs and envelopes, pad X, pad Y, and then a few other things that we don't use quite as often. So yeah, so it's like using the once you get envelopes down, you get LFOs down. It's not as hard, but just kind of think of it like we're basically just, you know, changing parameters with these tools down here for the most part. I don't know. I think we need this to make this an octave higher. Just so it's kind of higher pitched. And we're going to add a little bit of a release tail to the end there. I don't know how that'll work with the pitch though. The pitch dives back down. So we'll what do we have affecting the pitch? Yeah, that's going to be our only option. Okay, so, and then we're going to change the waveform here because I don't like the waveform. Something a bit like that would work better. Actually, let's do this. Something like that. That might work. Yeah, I don't know if that fits. I kind of just want to find some other effect synthesizer and just drop it in instead. We'll do that. We'll try that. So just hop in Alchemy and see if we can find some interesting effect. Sound effects. See what this does. A lot of these sound dark. I don't know how that'll work. Let's try setting them to bright. Okay, so for anyone wondering, this is an amazing preset for Tropical House if you like Tropical House. I love this preset already. Now, I think there's an arpeggiator on it. So if we turn this off. No, maybe it's just a delay. Yeah, it's just a delay. That's a really cool preset. I like that. Okay, so let me check out, see what it's doing by way of automation. So I'm going to turn up the cutoff all the way. There we go. This might work. I'm seeing a couple questions in the comments. I'll get to them in just a second here. I kind of want to do this. Automate the volume, please. Why won't it let me automate? Oh, come on. While you do this. Read. Frickin'. Well, now you will. Okay, thank you. Something like this. I don't know. Almost like we could do this. Whoops. Don't move. Undo. I want the automation curve tool. Things are going to start freezing. Okay, so it says my computer's loading. Okay. Any good plugins / synthesizers for making those DJ Snake, Arabian, Indian glide note leads? DJ Snake, I don't think I've heard much by him. I kind of want to like... You mean like Pyramids almost? That one song Pyramids? By, what was it, Julian Jordan or something like that? DVBBS and Drop Gun. Pyramids. Kind of like that one. Yeah, I do. I've heard his name a couple times, but I haven't looked him up yet. So I do need to look him up. Okay, so I'll get to the other question while I wait, because I think that's kind of the style that you're thinking about. What do you think? Why do you think Prayer in C is such a masterpiece? I was kind of hoping you could do a video dissecting the song, explaining why it has such high production value. It's kind of hard because like it's just so clean, and it's so clean and yet so full. Oh, okay. Turned down for what? Yeah. It's kind of hard to explain, but like when you listen to the track, it's like the reason I kind of mention it is because when you could listen to that track and really appreciate the mixdown, that's when you could tell that you could really hear what's in a good mixdown, and that's when you'll be able to tell that tell the difference between your tracks and professional tracks in terms of like mixdown. Because you think you when you first start, you think that you'll be able to tell all the time when your tracks are different from professional tracks, because like when you first start out, your mixes most of the time they suck. Not all people. Some people are lucky enough to where their first mixes are actually pretty darn good, but it's like you think that drastic difference is always going to stay, but realistically, as you get better, it shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. But like, let's say like in my case, I've been producing for 3 years, but I still can tell there's a huge difference between my tracks and professional tracks. But not as many people can tell that, actually. They'll think that I have professional grade tracks, and they'll tell me, dude, you should get yourself signed. But I'm like, no, I could tell there's a difference because I have that finely tuned ear to where I could hear that, their tracks are just worlds better than mine. And there's this gap that I could very easily see. People just getting started, they don't see the gap between my stuff and professional stuff quite as easily because their ears haven't been tuned for as long as mine have. So that's kind of like that's why I mention that track so much, because when you can tell that track has an amazing mixdown, then you'll know what it is about that track. And it's kind of like something that I don't want to just like talk about, because if I have to talk about it, that means probably what you're going to have more placebo than you're actually going to be able to hear things. So, I'll mention something and then you'll hear it, even though you might not actually really be able to hear it. So I kind of want to leave that for something, for your own listening, for you to kind of really, figure out why it's such a great mix, because it's like one of those fine listening things. You really have to have a tuned ear to hear it, and like just fully appreciate it. So yeah. Okay. Okay. I usually get stuck in the drop, and after experimenting for a while, I can't really tell when something is creative or just bad. Any advice? I'm in the same spot. If you saw my stream from last week where it was just a random remix I was working on. I was actually working on that drop, feeling like it was I mean, like it sounded okay, but it didn't really sound great. And then some people were saying, dude, that's an amazing drop. And I'm like, well, maybe I've just heard it so many times that I'm sick of it, even though it's really cool. So I don't know. So that's one of the things that unfortunately I can't help you too much with, because I struggle with that myself. And it's just like, remember, for those things, just remember that everybody struggles with those. And I've said it before, but that's where you would get a manager and, you'd send your tracks to the manager and say, hey, what do you think? And he'd say, dude, that doesn't stand up to the stuff on the rest of our label. No. Or he'll say, dude, that's amazing. And you're like, oh, well, it doesn't sound amazing to me. And then that's because you've heard it like 50 bajillion times. So everyone gets sick of their own stuff after they hear it so many times. Okay. Yeah, you always reference transparency. Yeah. It sounds really clean. Okay. But yeah, so synthesizers for the here, let me pull up one track, because I have one track that kind of fits that. I think. Here we go. I think it's this one. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna open this in QuickTime because it's mastered really loud. So do you kind of mean like the sort of sour sound you get with notes when you go like this? Kind of like that sort of sound, you mean? Where it's like this almost Arabian sound. That's actually has a lot more to do with the notes in the synthesizer, I found out. One of the easiest ways to... no, not like that. Okay. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're gonna have to actually send me a few examples. Just like post a couple of example tracks, and yeah, that was just like one that I have right now that I could pull up that I had made. But yeah, just send me a few like specific song examples, and I'll take a listen to them and kind of tell you, what I think. Yeah, okay. Don't let me. I'll check that out right now. I'm not gonna play it through the stream because I don't want to run in. I don't want this to get blocked into their places. So just give me a second to kind of listen to it. You should be able to hear me, but you won't be able to hear the track so well. And I forgot that I can't hear when I do that. So hold up 1 second. Oh wait, here we go. Okay, so this is where you search for trap. That basically what you're listening to right now isn't necessarily Arabian sound. It's more, that's just like pure trap. So if you've been looking down electro house stuff and progressive house stuff, you're not going to find any of that sound. You'll actually find it in trap. So if you look for like trap synth tutorials, you'll find a lot of that. So yeah, that's my suggestion. I don't do too many synth tutorials, and quite frankly, I don't do a lot of trap, so I couldn't do a synth tutorial right off the bat. I have to figure it out a bit. So yeah, they are kind of Arabian, but still, it's like if you listen to like you'll just find that all over the place in trap. So yeah, if you're looking for like different synthesizers sounds that kind of work with that, just use trap synths. It'll work perfectly fine. Now, on the other hand, if you're looking for how to do the notes, that's a whole different thing, and that's kind of like, it's a stylistic thing that, and I haven't got into that too much, so can't help you a lot in that regard. So, I was gonna curve this here. Don't move. I was gonna curve it, and for some reason, I tried to switch to my tool, and then my computer froze, and I tried to switch again, and it didn't work. Whoops, that was not the right button. Do not open that. That is the last thing I want to open. Okay. See, it like keeps on freezing when I open this. Curve tool, here we go. Okay. So we're going to curve it the same way as before. I think we'll actually let this hang. We'll bring it all the way to there. I don't know. Do I like that or not? I might just want to switch it to something else. Because I kind of like it, but... Yeah. Having a splashing time is what it's called. Nope, don't want impact effects. I'll probably just use that one and EQ it. That's loading. Yeah. Where was it? Having a splashing time, that one. And then I turned up the cutoff here. So it wasn't doing that weird dive thing. Okay, and then we'll just EQ the... So you notice here what I'm cutting out basically is like I'm basically just making it like an EQ like this. And that's like a lot of high end. That's because what you'll find out is like when you're outdoors, this is the most natural way to hear it. So if you pull these off, kind of sounds unnaturally close. Like stuff isn't normally that close. Normally you hear it off in the distance. So that's why you do it like that. So we'll see how this sounds. It still feels like we need something else. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it for now. Actually, you know what? If we do end up getting vocals for this, then they'd be put here. I still haven't contacted the person because I'm waiting for this track to be done before I contact them. But there'd be vocals right here, which would kind of eliminate the need to put something else here. Now I'm realizing. Try to put this symbol here as well. No, that one's too. Wait, I could flex time it though. Because I have this one. So since this one is kind of too low, as it is right now, we'll just get the flex time here. Bring it up a bit. Tiny bit more, please. That might work. That's better, except it's kind of mistimed now. So we'll put this about here. There we go. It's not perfectly on time, but it really doesn't matter. Okay. As more and more songs come out, I find it hard to make melody as drops without finding resemblances in other songs. Should I worry about this? Yes and no. No, because really it's not something you should worry about. Yes, because you shouldn't be trying to copy all those people. So don't be like, oh, I heard this awesome new track, I'm gonna try to copy it, which I don't imagine is what you're doing. I'm just saying this for other people. But if you make something that sounds like really cool to you, and then you find out, oh, it's pretty darn close to this one other one, as long as you weren't trying to go for it, like be like, oh, I'm gonna try to get this exact sound that this other song has, then it's not that big of a deal. Because I mean, like for a while there was like when after Martin Garrix released Animals, there were like big room percussive pluck sort of sounds. That was rather popular in the sense that like there were a handful of tracks after that kind of followed that style and worked pretty darn well. Like they were unique, but they kind of like, you know, you could tell someone was not necessarily trying to copy Martin Garrix's song, but they were like, you know, they're like, oh, that's a cool idea. Let me put my spin on it. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. People say that it's like cheap, but that's just like let's be honest. If people are saying that you're crappy and you copy other people to get famous, and yet you have like, you know, 1 million plays on your track, it really doesn't matter. Like if these people are saying that you copied stuff, but like all these people want to listen to your track anyway, who cares? I mean, I think a lot of when people say so and so is a copycat or so and so doesn't know how to produce, they're just trying to be haters. It's like, really go for what you want. I mean, people do covers of songs for a reason. It's their own spin on the original song. Just as long as you're not like deliberately trying to copy a song and you're injecting your own creative flavor. As long as you inject your own creative flavor, then it's like, you know, there's no reason to worry about it per se. So, you know, it's not that as big of a deal as a lot of people make it up to be. So don't worry about it too much. So Yeah, go to Spinning Records SoundCloud. Every second song is kind of similar. Exactly. They're looking for trends. They find like someone releases a song and then everybody gets like addicted to that song and they want more songs like that song. So then there's this trend that kind of follows. For instance, one of the ones out there that kind of started something was, I don't know if it started something or if it was like writing at the peak of it, was Alpha Rock's track "Pump This Party." It has like this really fast and kind of out of time sort of sound, and it sounds really cool. And it inspired a few other songs like that. And quite frankly, I thought it was like a really weird song at first when I heard it, but then it really grew on me and I really liked it. So, these labels, that's what they're looking for. They find a song that gets really popular and they find other things like it so people have similar things to listen to because they like that song so much. And even though people say, well, that sucks because all these songs are exactly the same, it's like that's the vocal minority. Most people want more songs. Like if they hear a song that's amazing, like for instance, Kashmir. Let's just be honest and say that he has quite a few tracks that sound pretty similar. Kygo too. Armin van Buuren as well. It's because people like when they hear one thing, like, oh, this is great, but I don't want to listen to the song 20 billion times. I mean, I do, but I kind of want like this song, but a different song. And that's, people like that stuff. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about people saying, copycat, because the labels are looking for that. They're also like, I said that a little bit wrong. Labels are looking for new stuff, but they also like to maintain consistency. So if you just have new stuff, you end up with this really weird plethora of songs that you just have no idea what to do with and no idea what to call. So that's why you have on like Spinning Records and Revealed Recordings, you have, like you said, every second song is kind of similar. That means that all the songs are not exactly the same. Like you have like tropical house tracks, deep house tracks, and future house tracks, and electro house tracks, progressive house tracks. But between like the progressive house tracks, they're pretty similar. Between the future house tracks, they're pretty similar. So it's kind of like, they want consistency but variety, and there's that, trade-off to make there. So if you think you could do something that's like really out there and really awesome, but it still fits in a genre, go for it. That's cool. It's really hard to do and really hard to like completely nail and get it so like everyone's like totally addicted to that song, but it can be done. On the other hand, if you just want to like follow one of the trends and get like totally nail that trend, that's another option as well. So don't worry about it. Yeah. If you make EDM, you have to make what is popular at the moment. It'll be similar anyways. Yeah, that's kind of the truth. But, like I said, they are still looking for new things. Gosh. I wish I had an example. But, yeah. I don't know. There's some examples out there. I can't pull any off the top of my head. But whether, when something new comes out, something new and exciting, they like it. It's just a matter of, do you want to be that person that comes out with something new and exciting, or something that hits the mainstream nail on the head so well that it just totally makes it. So usually it's easier to go viral if you have something out there. It's easier to build up a fan base if you have really, really well done mainstream tracks. So just kind of keep that in mind. So that's my thoughts on that one. Okay, let's play this back here and see what we got. In the meantime, feel free to throw questions in the chat there, and I'll get to them. Because like right now, I'm kind of at the point to where I think the next thing I'm gonna have to do is just copy and paste stuff. So that'll be a bit of a drag, but I could probably talk while I'm doing that. Yeah, Where Are You Now is actually one of those tracks that like really stands out because it's like the drop is so weird. I have no idea how it got so popular, and like to be honest, I'm still kind of irritated by that drop because like it's a little too weird for me. But it does have a lot of the tropical house sort of tonality to it. So yeah. Like I created Tropical House Station and that one popped up quite a few times on it. So on Pandora. So Anti-Fear, thank you so much. My tracks are sounding a lot better now. I know a lot more about mixing and mastering. You are welcome. That is why I'm here. I don't know how many people I've told, but I'm kind of at the point to where, like, if I got famous, I don't know if I'd want to go that direction. Like, because I kind of feel that my part of like this whole EDM thing is more about like showing you guys the path and like teaching everything that I can to kind of show you guys how to become better producers. But if I got the chance to like, I really don't want to tour. Let's be honest. I mean, if I could be like a producer that just produced, then that'd be cool. I don't know if I'd like to do it for a living though, because it kind of seems like it'd be too much stress on just production. Like it kind of be like less of a what do you call it? It'll be less of something I can enjoy and something that I'll have to like force myself to do because I'm like, okay, so I need to get this track out. I need to get this track done before the end of the month. And it just ends up being like, churning out stuff. So yeah, it's kind of just something that I don't know. It doesn't really feel like it's for me when it comes to like the whole big thing, but yeah. So my job is to teach you guys everything I can. I'm still learning new stuff. I mean, the channel is slowing down a bit because I have to get into my my actual career choice, which is computer science. But I am still learning new stuff, and I am still sharing that with you guys. So don't know how long it's going to go on, but hey, we're going to enjoy it while we can. So, okay. Yeah, so I've already asked while I was playing that back. I've been practicing working with kicks, hats, snares, and claps. I was listening to my favorite tracks for some ideas, and it seems like everyone's kick, snare, hat, and clap patterns are the same. Why is that? It's the genre. Like, for instance, excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. Like, it breaks down to pretty much every single time you put a kick down, it's going to be on every quarter note. Like, unless you do like a fill or something or a build. But it's like, it's kind of standard. I mean, claps, you either put them on top of every kick or on top of every quarter note, depending on, what you're doing in the particular track, or like every other kick. It's like, they're pretty standard. It's one of the things that's just like, I don't know. I think it has a little bit to do with the history. Like it kind of started with these loops and then that are just like drum beats. And then people started adding other things to them. And then it got to the point where it's like you'd have a drum beat and then you'd be focusing on like using these weird synthesizers at the time because like that's what started this whole thing. It's like synthesizers were weird and new. So that's what started this whole genre. Now they've become so sophisticated that they don't sound weird and new anymore. It's a whole genre and they sound like, they could sound very, very amazing and beautiful and stuff like that. So it's like they could sound terrible, they could sound amazing, they could sound grungy, they could sound smooth. There's like so many different ways to take it that, it's kind of changed in that regard. But the fact that the drum loops were kind of like a side thing has remained. So it's like the drum loops have always kind of been a complement to it. Now that said, a lot of people, you'll hear in a lot of places, kick drum is very fundamental. That's because you don't want a kick kind of messing up your tracks. Now people say, what about Swedish House Mafia? They have crappy tracks and they got famous. Yeah, that's because they were already famous beforehand. Swedish House Mafia did not get famous as Swedish House Mafia. That was like Axwell, Alesso, and now I feel really bad that I forgot the last person's name. Great. Is Axwell, Steve Angelo, Sebastian Grosser. Never mind, I got that all wrong. I thought it was Alesso who was in there as well. Okay, well, I completely messed that up. Yeah, Steve Angelo, Axwell, and Sebastian Ingrosso. So those guys, they were famous beforehand. Like they could, if they made a crappy synth and an amazing drum loop, everyone would love it. And I'm like, kind of true, kind of not true, but take that with a grain of salt. Basically, just saying. So you still want to have like a lot of focus on, getting your drum stuff right. But like I said, it's kind of like it's mainstream. It's kind of like there's something that's been determined over the years and years and years that EDM has been around, and we just kind of stick to that. So that's why. That's why the claps, hats, and kicks are pretty much, and the snares are pretty much all the same in terms of like, when you listen to different tracks, there's very few variations in terms of what they're doing. Mostly it's all the same. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. I think I actually covered all the questions there. So we've been going an hour and a half. So I guess I'll do some copying around to kind of go with our structure here. So what we do now is I'm going to delete these. And then we'll go through and copy some of this stuff in. So verse 2 is going to be there, and then we'll have the bridge and the drop. Okay. So what we'll do is, for convenience sake, we'll get these split by playhead, and then we should just have to copy this entire region here. I'm going to copy these, and these. I think that's all we need. Copy. And then we need to adjust this here because I don't know if you guys noticed, but that weird gap doesn't work anymore. So we'll have to, we'll just do this. No fade out. And I don't think we need this. And then we'll make this one a nice loud crash. So we'll turn up the gain a bit. And that transition actually works okay. So, you're new to Logic. How do you copy? Yeah, you hold Alt and drag. Yep. Okay. Oh, so how do you get your drum stuff unique? You don't need to. I mean, if you want to do something like that, I think like the intro track I played, it was just like a random one that I had completely forgotten about, that I made a while back, but I did this. It's actually kind of funny. Where is it? Here we go. Come on, play. You could do it. Now, the cool thing about that one is not just the toms, but if you listen, at the end of every kind of section, it has like this weird like hi-hat bounce around thingy that happens. Just listen again. So that's like something you could do, but really it's not something to worry about too much. Your drums don't need to be that unique. I mean, that's why a lot of producers use drum samples instead of like creating their own drums every time, because it's like, you could just get these like pre-made loops or pre-made builds, like snare builds and stuff, and it's like, because it's like so it's so standardized that it's not really something that you need to worry about that much. So yeah, I mean, now that said, if you're going for like, I don't know how much Avicii does in terms of stylizing his drums, but there might be some different things if we go down that direction. Okay, so let's see here. The next would be the drop again. Excuse me. I completely forgot about these from a while back. That was when we started our project a while ago. And then we'll just copy the drop. I think. Yeah, we should be able to do that. I need to split these regions. Okay. Oh no, that's the wrong spot. These ones, I don't remember what I'm saving these for. Just move them out of the way for now. And then what we'll do is the shakers that we brought in later, we'll actually bring in immediately for the drop now. So we don't have a pause. And then we'll copy the hats over there. Cool. And then last but not least, we just need to grab this, I think. And then we'll copy the transition as well, since we know that works. Cool. See how this goes. Why the heck is there an ARP in here? Oh, what? Why are these here? What? Oh, that was like our first one that we had. I'm just going to pull these over here and completely mute them. And then we put this one here. Now what I'm going to try, on the other hand, is I'm actually going to drop a acoustic piano here. So we're going to go EX, not in mono. Why would we want this in mono? There we go. We get our factory acoustic piano, and we'll just go with grand piano. Okay, and then maybe we could do... Yeah, okay, so we're going to modulate the cutoff here. Modulate, or automate the cutoff. EXS, I'm on a roll. If there are questions in the comments, I'll get to them in a second here. Or the chat. I keep on saying comments. Kind of wanted to do this. It's a slow way. So this is just going to be a ghost sidechain here so that we have our kick. Okay. I think it... So it doesn't really sound like a piano, but it sounds like a nice synthesizer almost. Okay, if I have a bunch of different drops, say 3 that fit for a track, should I A, play each drop separately throughout the track, B, combine them for a single complex drop, or C, use only some of them? I think A is the only bad option. You probably shouldn't play each drop separately throughout the track. Now, having 2 different drops works in some tracks. 3 is not a good idea, from what I've gathered. But combining them for a single complex drop is going to get you more... it's going to sound a lot better in the long run, because like it's more impressive, we'll say. So it catches people's ears. Just don't play like the first drop for one loop, the second drop for another loop, and the third drop for another loop. Don't do that. Mix them together so that you have like one 8-bar section that is all 3 drops kind of like flipping out between each other. So that's a cool way to do it. Oh yeah. Which days is a stream or is it random? Anyone in the chat could also answer. I do streams Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So that's when my streams start, and I usually go for about 2 hours. Also, I always tweet out at least a half hour beforehand. Sometimes I'll do it an hour beforehand. So for those of you that are wondering, it is a regular stream time, Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So that's what I've been doing. You should put the piano part with a melody on the end. Ooh, that's actually a good idea. Yeah. What's the best way to practice compression and EQ? I play around with them, but I don't really feel like I'm doing anything, or you know what you're doing. That's a hard question to answer because for a long time, I have no idea how I learned like compression and EQ other than just using them wrong for so long and then eventually kind of figuring out that, I was using them wrong. I mean, because like the easiest part I always say in my videos with those is the intuition. Like when you use the EQ and, you could actually hear it and hear what it's doing a little bit. But it's like the intuition, what they're really doing is easy to pick up, but like how to really use them is something that's so much harder. And I don't know. It's just like, it's a lot of trial and error. Yeah, I guess the best way to do it is like when you're EQing something, try something new every time. So if you think like, you have this synthesizer here, and you always think, oh, I'll boost the high end because that sounds nice. This time, don't boost the high end. Try boosting somewhere that is not the high end to try to get that same sound. So it's kind of hard to explain, but the best way to improve is by trying something new every single time and keep in mind what you're trying new so that if it works or if it works better than the last one, then that's something to remember. That one is kind of, where you were going right. So that's my suggestion for that one. Just like as vague as it sounds, try something new every time. It's really hard. If you really want a lot of practice with compression and EQ, creating your own kicks is a great way to learn more about compression because as you start to get better at compression, creating your own kicks becomes like a piece of cake. But when you're first starting, it's like you'll always end up with a kick that's worse than the original kick almost. So it's like That's one of the things that's easy to practice. Like when you go back and you're like, well, that didn't sound any better in the end, then you kind of realize, maybe I should try something else because like this kick sounds really thin or has too much bass or something like that. Just try things like that. Yeah. It's just a process. It takes time. I mean, as much as it sucks to say, you probably it'll take you 6 months of using EQ before you really know what you're doing with EQ. Like you could hear it, and then probably another 6 months before you could make good EQ decisions, and then another 6 years before you could do perfect EQ stuff whenever you open up an EQ. I mean, I'm pretty good at EQing. I could I could say, oh, it needs this in this spot, but that's not always what it necessarily means. Just because I could hear that immediately and I could find it immediately doesn't mean I'm actually good at EQing. So, I mean, I'm better than some, but at the same time, I still have a ways to improve. So it's just, try something new and keep in mind what you're trying when you try it so that you could kind of learn that. Yeah. So you should put the piano part with the melody on the end. Let's try that. So I think what you meant is we'll just get this here, copy these, and put it into our actual piano here. If I could figure out where all the notes are. Oh, I think it actually put it all in the right spot. Almost. Nope. Let's turn off the overdrive for now. Let's get rid of that curve. I like that sound a lot better. Yeah. Okay, I think we're getting there. Yeah, the piano in Logic doesn't sound that good sometimes. I don't know. We could try with the one of the other acoustic pianos here, Steinway Grand Piano 2. I kind of want it to be in the background though. So, yeah. One last question. Shoot. Go ahead. No problem. I think you should not add when it comes to EQ. Yeah. Yeah. With EQ, you do want to be cutting more than you want to be adding. But I just said adding because when you first get in, that's your first instinct is to add instead of cut. So, but yeah, it is very true that you want to try to cut more than you want to add stuff. Now that said, when it boils down to it, like if I normalize this EQ in a weird way, it's just boosting there. Or if I bring it down here, it's just cutting. Or if I bring it in the middle, it's boosting and cutting. So what plugin am I using for the piano? I'm just using EXS. So It's nothing fancy. EXS is nowhere near fancy. Considering you're producing for about 3 hours every 3 days, how long do you think it would take for someone like me to reach professional level where that production quality gap is no longer there? I have no idea. Because like for me, I did a lot of rigorous production, and it took me a long time to get to some places. Other times, like I have a EDM pro tips video on it, but sometimes when you take breaks, you actually improve more than if you continually produce. It's kind of weird, but you just kind of get like a fresh break almost. So I do know someone who has been producing for about, I think like half as long as I have, and he's better than me already. I talked about him several times. I haven't mentioned his name because he's trying to stay hidden for a while, but it's tough to say. I mean, I think like doing that much, I'd say in 3 years you'd probably be better than where I am right now. So like it took me 3 years to get to where I am right now, but if you were doing like 3 hours, was it 3 hours every 3 days, like over a course of 3 days, or 3 hours? Yeah, I guess either way works. But yeah, so if you're doing like a lot of production, like you're doing, I don't know, we'll say something like 10 hours a week, something like that, then probably what you'll run into is you'll end up being better than me than with where I am right now. So, you know, yeah, ear fatigue. You have to take a break every once in a while. But even more than that, what you'll find out is like I've taken a break from production for like a month, and then I come back and I am so much better than when I left, which is weird because I wasn't practicing over that time. It has to do with training your ears. So if you're just listening to your stuff and you're just producing, that doesn't train your ears as much as if you're listening to professional tracks over long periods of time and just listening to those professional tracks and just trying to pick out what they did, the decisions that they made, and, you know, like, it's song analysis, basically. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play this back here, and I'll probably just wrap up because this drop/bridge new thingy, I vaguely remember what we were going to do for that, but I don't quite remember. Oh, and I think there was one other thing I wanted to do. Okay. So I'm going to get these two synthesizers and just kind of EQ them back a bit. So it kind of thins it out to put these ones in the background because I was talking about before, they really conflict with the drop. So I'm just going to move these to the back. So they're sitting in the back now. Now for that means that this part we might have to turn it back up. Now I'm remembering also that the plan was to kind of do something more like the bridge here. Yeah, so that was the initial plan actually for the for this part. So I might I need to copy that. Don't freeze on me now. Any questions while I wait for this to load? There we go. So we want this, then we want this. So I kind of wanted it to be more like this. Yeah, we're going to pull this out for now. I'll just mute it. And then also we're going to mute the high-end notes on this piano because it makes it too happy. What this is supposed to kind of break down to like a very chill, like ambient sort of drifting part. What happened to the automation? Yeah, so I think that's what we want for this part, actually. So it doesn't sound all that great right now, but it will later. Okay, let's play back to the beginning here. And since we've hit the 2-hour point, I'm going to play this back. Will I wait for you guys to drop any final questions you have? And we'll spend some time talking about questions, if you guys have any. To answer one quick question here, how long have you been producing? 3 years. It's been about 3 years now. Something over that, but it's pretty much, you could just route it to 3 years. So... yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play this back, and if you guys have any final questions, then I'll get to those. Otherwise, we'll just wrap up the stream. So, here we go. That's sounding like it's flowing really well, actually. I like how that's going. So you should have more percussion, like snaps or little sounds in the breaks. Yeah, it does sound empty, but like I said, well, actually, you might not have been here for that, but theoretically, hopefully, potentially, maybe, we'll be getting vocals for this, and that'll fill up a lot of the perceived space. So when that gets taken care of, there won't be that much to worry about in terms of like stuff taking up, or like there not being enough stuff in some of these spaces. So like for instance here, and then all the bridges, it sounds very minimal. That's because hopefully we're gonna have vocals filling that up. So we don't want to fill it up too much now, because then it'll just step on top of the vocals when we get the vocals in. So we'll see how that goes. With that means probably next video is gonna be the last video, maybe 2 more. We might do 2 more streams in this where we're just working on the track, and then I'll have enough done to where I could actually send it out and actually try to find a vocalist, since it is for the sake of the stream, and I do want to keep the stream running until I finish this and like focus on this till I finish it. That means I'm going to work really hard to get a vocalist here. I'm going to try as many different people, places, and see if I could find a vocalist for this. And then if we get a vocalist, I won't do the recording in the stream, just because for the sake of the vocalist, it'll be distracting. So I'll have that all recorded off screen, but I'll do the comping on during the stream, and then we'll do all the editing during the stream, and then we'll do the final mix down and mastering and stuff like that in the stream. So that's the current tentative plan. Can you explain sidechaining? From my understanding, it seems similar to a bus, but I might have totally been off on that one. I just want to know why it's used and for what. So I say sidechaining like it's a thing to make the stuff, like the kick duck, or like the tracks duck down for a kick, and that's what I use it for. Sidechaining, realistically though, is when you send an item to a bus. And then, for example, with the compressor here, you put in a sidechain and the compressor reacts to the sidechain. So if you click sidechain here, you can see the detection is max or sum. So this would be just following the sidechain. This would be following the sidechain and the original sound. So normally I go with max. Then peak or RMS, that's just, do you want to do peak or RMS compression, which is a whole different thing. I'm not going to get into that now. And then you have some filtering options for like filtering the sidechain for the compression. But what it does is, instead of following the original audio and compressing it based off that, when it goes up and reaches a certain point, starts compressing it, it actually follows a sidechain and compresses it according to that. So what does that mean? If I send in a kick is very powerful whenever it hits. So I'll have like a really low threshold and a really high ratio, so it does a lot of compression when the kick hits. And instead of compressing the kick sound, it compresses whatever the track this is on, because I'm routing the kick through the side, so it's following the kick in terms of compression. But what it's actually compressing is whatever bus it's on, which is typically a synthesizer. So that's what causes the synthesizer to duck out of the way when I do sidechain compression, because the kick hits and then it causes this compressor to react, but it's reacting on a synthesizer, so it's pushing it down on the synthesizer. So it's kind of, whenever the kick goes up, this compressor goes down. So that's basically the idea of what I'm using a sidechain for there. But you could do other things as well. Like, for example, you could route a vocal into this sidechain and then have your synthesizer right here. So as the vocal gets louder, the synthesizer gets compressed more and more, so you kind of have like this, the vocal goes up, the synthesizer goes down, and it kind of like ducks out of the way of the vocal. So that's one of the other things you could do for sidechaining. Sidechaining is just getting some side audio source and using it to modulate a parameter. In this case, it's not modulating a parameter, it's actually just affecting the compression. But you could actually do sidechaining for let's see, filter, I think the Evoc 20 filter bank? No. Evoc 20 track oscillator? Yeah, this one you could actually run a sidechain in. And I think, if I recall correctly, this basically turns any audio source into the equivalent of a vocoder. If you don't know what a vocoder is, I have a video on vocoders. Just search it. I think all you have to do is search vocoders and mannequin or vocoder. I don't know. I might come up if you search vocoder EDM tutorial. Let me look. Vocoder EDM tutorial. No, I'm not on the front page for that one. At least I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. Well, I have one somewhere. So if you search vocoder and then mannequin, I talk about vocoders. Yeah, it pops up right at the top there. So, but yeah, this is sidechaining is completely different in this regard, because you're like using the sidechain to morph the original sound. So it's sidechaining you could do a lot with, but I talk about sidechaining as if it's just made to get my synthesizers out of the way, the kick drum, and make it kind of pulsate. So, but there's a lot of other technical uses for sidechaining. It's just the idea of sidechaining is you're sending in audio through the side, so that's like, you know, chaining it in through the side. That's the whole idea of it, technically speaking. So, yeah. Are there any final questions, or should I just wrap up this stream? I'll wait just a couple seconds here so you guys could punch in any questions you may have to wrap things up. But, yeah. So, yeah. A lot of production stuff is tough to grasp at first because it's a very highly technical subject. Like, a lot of people hate on electronic music, saying, well, the computer does it all for them. They don't do anything. But if you get into production, you know that is not the case. I mean, if you're using pre-made loops and you're just sticking pre-made loops together, then yeah, you don't have to do a lot and it could sound okay. But like, for people that are actually producing, it's a lot more work. What's the chance of me nailing my first mix and master 100%? That really depends. Oh, master, very low chance. Very, very low chance to actually nail your first master. Your first mix, you could actually do pretty good at nailing if you don't EQ a lot of stuff and you just kind of let the synthesizers shine for what they are. You could actually do a pretty good mix down for your first mix down ever. But if you go in and you start doing a lot of EQs on your first mix, it's probably not going to be really great. It could be okay. But more so you'll find that the best first mixes are the ones that don't use a lot of compression and EQ. Yeah, but mastering is like a pain in the butt if you're like, you know, if you just slap on like limiter number 6 here and kind of do what I've done, just kind of use the master 1 preset and turn up the gain, then you'll have a pretty good master as long as you don't let anything clip. But it won't be like a very like amazing master, because amazing masters take a lot of EQ precision and a lot of like deliberate compression precision, so you could kind of let the dynamics punch through just a little bit more and kind of meld everything together in a solid sense, but yet let everything shine individually. It's a big tough thing. So yeah. And the drop, a little tip on how to sidechain everything except the kick side, it just stands out. Just send everything to one bus. Yes and no. One of the things that actually Deadmau5 talked about this, he said, don't put everything under one sidechain, because then it just kind of uniformly ducks it and it doesn't sound all that great. You need to individually balance things. It is faster to do it that way, but artistically it's not the best decision, because different sounds need more sidechaining than others. Like, for example, my pluck here, where is it? This one goes a lot. It's like if you listen to it with a kick. Actually, if I have a ghost kick, it'll be even more obvious. Oh, I muted that one. Here we go. So you kind of hear those squash sounds for some of them. So that one has a lot. But on the other hand, if you go up to some of the other ones, like this one's not going to have anywhere near as much compression, because it's just supposed to kind of be a little bit compressed. So it just ducks down a little bit. So yeah, it is a good idea in the sense that, yes, it does make things faster, but you don't want to do that for like your if you do a final mix down, you'll want to change that so you could adjust things better, because if you just have one overriding thing that's squishing everything down like a whole ton, it's not going to work so amazingly well. So you do want to kind of, you know, individually tune it, is what I'm saying. So yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry that it kind of sounds not so great, that, you know, nailing your first mix and master is going to be so hard. But the best way to start, if you just want to get like great mixes and stuff, you don't want to hurt your mixes, I guess is the best way to say it, is be very, very light on EQ and be very, very light on compression And for your final master, just get limiter number 6, use the master 1 preset, and make sure there's no clipping. If you do that, it'll be pretty good. But like I said, it won't be impressive to people that have been producing for a long time. It just won't sound like crap. Because what's more likely to happen is your first track, you just go over the top with EQ, compression, everything like that, and it just sounds terrible. That's the easy thing to get wrong. Now that said, if you minimize what you do, then you're minimizing the amount of things you get wrong. But at the same time, we are doing these things like EQ and compression, and we could do an extreme amount of them, and it makes it sound really great. But it's kind of like that hard conflict there. You need to have it in there, but if you're doing it wrong, you'll just be hurting it more than you'll be helping it. So, you're not going to impress anyone. Most of the time, you will not impress any longtime producers with your first mix. But they might be impressed, be like, oh, that's impressive for your first mix. But, you won't sound like Kashmir for your first mix. That's probably like 0.01% because there's so many people out there. That probably totals to about like 100 people for every million or something, that, they actually nail their first mix and master. So it's a pretty darn low percentage. Sorry to crush your hopes and dreams there, but it takes a lot of time. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but a handful of people have gone to me saying, I've been doing this for 3 months and I'm still not professional. Yeah, it kind of takes years. So sorry about that. It's a little bit sad to hear when you feel like, oh, I'm going to be a producer. Like after my first year, I'm going to be a professional producer. Nah, it usually doesn't happen. That's why if you start when you're 14, then when you hit like 17, you could be a really good producer. So that's the earlier you start, the better. How long did it take me to complete my first track? I have no idea. I'll tell you right now, though, the first track, like first full-blown track I did was, I don't think it took that long. Like it didn't take any more than a week, or it didn't take any more than 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I think it probably took around 2 weeks to do. I don't know. But the first song I ever uploaded to SoundCloud, that took me nothing but like a few hours. So it varies. One of the things I like to say is it doesn't matter how long it takes you to complete a track because you could work on a track for 2 weeks and it'll suck, or you could work on a track for 1 day and it's amazing. And that's like in the same, span of time. I've done that. I've spent like 2 months on a track and it sucked. And then the next track I made in 2 days and it sounded so much better. So the amount of time it takes has nothing to do with it. Just don't drag it out. Is like, if you feel like you're dragging it out, then it may be worth just starting a new project or kind of like refreshing the project you're working on, getting rid of a lot of old stuff, and then just kind of starting semi-scratch from like the core parts that you really like and working with those. So, yeah. Avicii got signed after a year of producing, and I'm pretty sure he made his first hit like a few months after the first year. Really? I didn't know that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it does take time and practice. So you can do it. It's possible. I'm not saying there are people that haven't done it. It's just, it takes a lot of investment. So you have to really, really try hard. How do I even learn the master? Master is one thing why I like FL and Maximus / Fruity Limiter. Okay, Fruity Limiter sucks. I'll tell you that right now. Please do not use Fruity Limiter for your masters. It's like, really, it's not that great. Maximus is much better. But at the same time, like this is what I suggest. Like if you just need a limiter, then make sure that you have headroom. If you don't know what headroom is, that's going to take, you figure out what that is. There are some videos, there are some articles you can look up. Just search headroom mastering and you'll come up with a lot of stuff. Make sure you have plenty of headroom. Drop in this master 1 preset and then just pull up the gain until you're good. And then you'll be fine. That's going to be way better than Fruity Limiter. Please do not use Fruity Limiter for your masters. It's I don't like that they put it on there by default. It's kind of detrimental to your mixes. So that's my suggestion there. Now, not saying that Fruity Limiter is total crap and you should never use it. Just saying it's probably not the best thing to be mastering with. So yeah. You could download MIDI from a song and try out different things, create a full song and compare it to a commercial song or a song you like. I'm not sure what that was in response to. But yeah, it just got over writer's block and wrote what I've been looking for. Oh, cool. It's good to hear getting over writer's block and all. Yeah. Actually, Martin Garrix makes 50 songs a day and only one gets released. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like, cause like I could pop open try start a new track like 50 different times and it won't get, only one of them will make it through. So it's, my live streams are a lot harder because I can't just scrap something. I mean, there are a few things that I just scrapped, like over here. That we were working with. I just scrapped that in the end. But, not everything will make the cut. Yeah. You could do, even when you're a professional, not everything will make the cut. So, yeah. Yeah, produced around 8 hours a day. That sounds like that one guy that I was talking about who's like, who's gotten better than me so much faster. And because he's like, oh gosh, he has put so much into it. It's crazy, but he's doing a really good job. And I cannot wait. Like, I seriously hope he gets famous because like he's been working so hard and he's getting so good. All he needs when he really is like decides he's ready, all he needs is the right connection to get into one of these big labels, and then I'm sure he'll take off. So I don't know how well he DJs though. I haven't actually talked to him much about that, but I do know he does DJ. So I have a feeling he's gonna like totally take off, and I wonder if he actually watches his streams because I think he knows. He might know that I'm talking about him specifically. I'm not sure though. I'll message him sometime and ask. But yeah, let's not get angry about the Fruity Limiter. But yeah, mostly use Maximus anyways. Yeah, I think Maximus is now included with Producer Edition, so just use Maximus. Fruity Limiter, it's nice to keep things from clipping, but it's not a quality, like high quality limiter for mastering. So yeah. Really? I don't know enough about labels. I mean, I've had a couple interactions with labels, but I don't know if they teach how to DJ all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if someone told me that, but I don't know. So I've just never heard anything in that regard. Yeah. Yes, as soon as he releases a track, I'm going to post all his stuff on my channel because he's really cool. Now, I want to do a collaboration with him, but I told him I'm not doing a collaboration with you for your first public track because I don't want you to like ride my coattails into this. I want you to go in so that people could see who you are and how awesome you are because quite frankly, I have a feeling I'd drag you down. So, I want to do a collaboration with him, but I'm waiting till he like officially releases his first track. So I'll definitely let you guys know. But for now, just for the sake that he wants to stay kind of under the radar until he feels like he's hit the professional level, I'm gonna respect that, and I'm not gonna say his name, but he does. I could tell you the genre though. He does like bounce and electro house. That's what he does. And I think he did a progressive house track recently because he was like experimenting. So yeah, he's like, oh my gosh, his kicks are amazing. Some of his kicks are better than some of the professional kicks out there. It's crazy. Because that's like one of the things he spent ages working on, and so now he's just gonna. I haven't talked to him for a while. I should get in touch with him again because like, I think the last time I talked to him was like January. But yeah, I think like what he's working on next is kind of like, I think it's gonna be getting clarity in his mixes because his mixes are very powerful, but they tend to sound a little bit. I don't know what the word is. Excuse me. They tend to sound like they're one big mix instead of like a 3D space of sounds. So I think that's what he needs to work on next. I don't remember if he said he was going to work on that next or not. So, but oh yeah, he's going to be so cool. I can't wait for him to release a track. I've heard some of his stuff. It's not muddy. It's just, there's some of the tracks conflict with each other a bit, so it is kind of muddy in that regard. Like if you listen to his tracks, they won't sound like muddy off the bat. They'll just sound like very full. That's one of the things that's like where he's gotten to the point where he's beyond me. Like his tracks don't sound muddy; they just sound really full. And I think it's like he just needs to kind of cut things out a bit better, so there's more distinction. So yeah, he like when I say he's better than me, I mean he's better than me. So yeah. Would you say all you need to produce an amazing track is headphones, a speaker, DAW, and some samples? Yes, absolutely. You don't need like I'm using the KRK Rocket 6s. I got them for collectively. I got them for like under $150 or something like that. I think I got like $80 each. I don't remember. Maybe it was like $250 for both. I don't remember. Whatever it is. But I have the Rocket 6s. I have these headphones, and really, it's you don't even need this. But yeah, you just need like that's the best thing for you to be saying that right now. Actually, that all you need is headphones, speakers, and a DAW and some samples. A lot of people say, "Oh, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need room treatment." I don't have room treatment, people. Do you see any room treatment? Do you see like acoustic foam all over the place? No. So a lot of those things, while they help, I will not say they don't help. But don't convince yourself that that's what you need to be a pro, because it's not the case. A lot of people go pro before they get that fancy stuff. And then once they're pros, they're like, hey, now that I'm a pro and I have all this money to spend, I'm going to spend it on my studio because duh, that's where my job is. So then they get all these things to make life easier for them. But most of these people do not start with a fancy studio to work in. They start with a less than optimal setup, and then they garner popularity by interacting with fans, connecting, networking, posting stuff up, being like consistent, and just like working really hard in the studio to learn new stuff. And that's how they get popular, and that's how they make it big. You could have crappy mixes and be considered a professional in my eyes, actually. Because professional is where you're making a living off of it. Now, a lot of people won't agree with that, and that's a functional definition for me. Like, professional DJs are people that could DJ and make a living off of it, to me, not necessarily be amazing DJs. Now, that said, I'll talk about like professional quality and other things like that, and that's like when I'm actually talking about the quality. But for the sake of like just saying it, yeah, you could become a professional and have crappy mixes, because it's less about your mix down and more about your creativity, how well you could get things to fit together, and how you could get other people involved in it. Because like that's one of the things I haven't done. I don't go out of my way to spread my tracks to other people. It's just not so much my thing. If I did that, I'd probably have a lot more subscribers and a lot more followers. Actually, a great way to look at it is I have a ton of subscribers on YouTube because I do tutorials on YouTube. That's why people come listen to my stuff. My SoundCloud does not have many followers. Let me check, actually see how many my SoundCloud has. I have... I have almost 100 followers on SoundCloud. Everybody knows that is like a beginner on SoundCloud. That is not a lot of followers. So, when you hit like 5,000 followers on SoundCloud, and it's not because you're following a lot, like 5,000 people, then that's when you start to get like, recognized in the sense that you kind of have some, credibility as an artist. Like, and that's when you start to be like, you could have confidence in your ability. But yeah, if you go out there and just like get people involved with your music, get involved with other people and their music, and just network more, that's how you're going to get, out there and get popular faster. If you have an amazing track and you drop it on your SoundCloud page and you don't talk to anybody and you just let it sit, you're not going to get famous. Like 99.999% of the time, if you do that, you're not going to get famous. No one's going to find you. No one can find you. There's just so much out there. There's so many other tracks to randomly click on. What's the chance that a label's going to randomly click on yours? But if you have hundreds and thousands of followers, then these labels are going to see that hundreds of thousands of plays and followers, and they're going to go, I'll try that one. And then they play that one back, and if it impresses them, then they pick you up. So yeah, if you want to get popular, it's a lot more about networking than it is necessarily about getting the perfect mix down. So really get out there as soon as you can. That's a great thing to do. Yeah. I do go out of my way to help others. Yeah, that's what I said. It's my position. That's kind of what I want to do. I don't want to push my music, go try to get my music featured in places, go out and DJ so that other people start hearing my music. I mean, that's not really me. It's not what I like to do. So I actually initially, to be honest, I started this YouTube channel because I figured if I make tutorials, people get interested in my music, listen to my music. That is true. It has actually boosted my play count, but it actually changed my focus as well. Now I couldn't care less about how many plays I get on my songs. What's more important is that you guys are learning from the videos and you guys are getting cool stuff out of it. So I'm a natural born mentor, kind of. One of the things that I like to do is I like to learn how I learn things, because then I can learn things faster. And I figured, let's share that with other people. So yeah. How much should I worry about theft, and where will you see it? So if you mean about not sure what you mean. Do you mean people pirating your tracks, or do you mean, yeah, you'll have to clarify a bit, because I do know some information on some of those topics. Some other topics though, I don't know. Yeah. So clarify that for me really quick, and I'll get back to your question there. You've seen interviews where some of the biggest names in EDM say not to constantly send your demos to labels and spend more time practicing and producing than constantly send. Yes. I didn't say send your stuff to labels. Labels will find you. You do not find labels. That is not how it works. You do not find labels. Labels will find you. Now, there are some other ones if you do really well on a track and you want to just give it a shot and send it to someone like Proximity, then you have a higher chance of getting picked up and featured than an actual label. Like one of those YouTube music channels, that's a lot more likely than a label. But don't send your stuff to labels. It's not really worth it. Talk to producers and just listeners, people that will listen to your music, and share it around in that regard. That's more important than sending it to labels. Sending it to labels won't do anything. I mean, I say it won't do anything. It could do something, but don't rely on that. That's not the way to go. That's definitely not the way to go. So, how important is it to make your own samples, kicks, or just using other samples? I think I covered this in the last video, so I won't spend too much time on it. But if you're curious, check out the last video. That, or is one video before. I know they're 2 hours, so it's hard to find stuff in it. I'm sorry. It's just, there's a lot of good information in them. So take some time and split it up. Watch, 15 minutes a day for some of those. Then you'll have tons of stuff to watch if you split it up that way. Yeah, Proximity is great. I haven't been listening to enough of the posts lately. I have I'm following him everywhere, but I haven't listened to much stuff by him lately. But anyway, back to the question. Making your own samples and kicks. I make my own kicks just because it's something I'm used to. Now, that said, you don't have to make your own samples and kicks. It's not important at all. It is good to have the skills to be able to do that and stuff like that, but it's not something you need to do. I think I saw Mock J used for a build in one of his tracks, he used an unedited, completely just 100% raw build from a sample pack. He did, he had riser synths in there, but the snare build with a few effects mixed in between, he did nothing to it. He just used that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's using the tools at your disposal. So, just don't use sample of synthesizer loops. That's kind of, that's where you're supposed to be creative, with what you have. So you don't have to make your own samples and kicks. If you want to, feel free. It's a cool thing to do. I actually know, Christian Eld, I believe, is making a sample pack. And, as soon as he finishes it up, I'm going to feature it on the channel. So that's a little bit of an interesting. He's Christian Eld is under the name Crimeting. I'll type it down here in the chat. It's CHRI-ting. So it's Crimeting, and you can check out his stuff. He does some pretty cool mixes. So how do you make a build? I'm not gonna answer that one. That's too long of a question. I'm sorry. It's just You'd be better off watching some of my track from scratch, remixing from scratch videos, and because I do builds in those ones. So I'm not going to cover that today just because that would take like 20 minutes to do. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to skip over that one. But like I said, they're in some of my other videos. I think conveniently, I actually have my remixing from scratch videos. I have them labeled with what's kind of in them. So you might be able to find some ones where I actually just talk about where I worked on the build. So yeah. Oh, okay. So intellectual property theft. You don't need to worry about that. If you upload it to SoundCloud, and even if you put it up for free download, you basically copyrighted it. Because if you're the first person that posted it up and you have the project, then if you think anyone stole it and stole the track and is using it, then you could sue them and that'll basically fund your studio. But chances are that's not going to happen. Most of the time you won't need to worry about that at all. Now, I don't know if there's much else to talk about in that regard, because it's like when you're just getting started, it's very low chance that you'll get your ideas stolen. And chances are you're not the only one with that idea. So like you could make a track and then someone on the other side of the world could have never heard your track and then make their own track. And it sounds very similar in some aspects. Like let's say the drop is like really close, because quite frankly, there's a limited amount of note combinations you could do. I mean, it just gets to the point to where there are a wide variety of songs that have the exact same chord progression. I mean, it just happens. So that you need to not worry about so much. But in terms of like someone actually stealing your tracks and claiming that they're theirs, then call them out on it. If they don't quit, that's usually grounds to where you can actually file a lawsuit. And I'm being totally serious here. It's actually worth filing a lawsuit because first of all, then you get credit for it. Second of all, chances are you could actually get money out of the lawsuit, and that could help fund some stuff in your studio. And it kind of sounds mean, but let's be honest. If they are going to stoop low enough to steal your entire song and claim it's theirs, like I was actually worried someone might do that with one of my tracks, because I was doing a commission which ended up falling through, but I was only sending them low quality versions of the track. So, and I wasn't making it easily available for download. They could have potentially done it, but it would have been a low quality download. But I don't know, whatever. But I haven't seen it online. I've been kind of following them just a tiny bit. But if they ever end up posting my track online, then I'm just gonna sue them because they kind of tried to commission me on something, and then like towards the very end they kind of dropped out, which is kind of what I was expecting. And I wasn't too bothered by it because I mean, I produce anyway, so it's just like, oh, cool, now this is my track and I can release it under my name. Who cares? I mean, it's no more effort for me. It's no more of a problem for me. But if they do end up posting it somewhere, then I'm just going to file a lawsuit because, you know, that's something that shouldn't be tolerated. Like, you know, I don't think piracy is a good thing. And in a similar manner, you know, if someone stole one of my tracks, I wouldn't just like complain. I'd actually make a move because it's not cool at all. Especially, you know, sometimes, so I can't say sometimes because I actually haven't seen any of this really to make any judgments, but I imagine if their track got popular and you called them out on it and sued them, then you'd get that popularity in return because someone would be like, oh, you actually made it. And then, you know, people would dive over to your stuff, check out some of your stuff. It wouldn't be all the people that heard that original track, but it would be some people. So I don't know. Yeah, don't worry about intellectual property theft. It's like, you know, as soon as you post it up on SoundCloud and as long as you have the project, that's enough grounds to where you could actually, like, if someone stole it and reposted it, you could say I posted it before, so pull it off your SoundCloud now or I'm going to sue you. And if they don't pull it off, since A, you posted it before, and B, you have the original source project, then, you know, you could do that. Yeah, and don't hate on ghost producing. Ghost producing it's not a terrible thing. It is, in some cases, kind of like, but let's be honest, there are some people that are great DJs, and they want to have tracks to their name, but they can't really produce. So they kind of build an image based on the tracks that they have ghost produced for them. And it's a consistent image. So it's not just like they're buying other people's tracks and getting popular off of it. They actually tend to have a consistent image for these ghost produced tracks. So yeah. Yeah. Stealing intellect is way more worse than a wallet. Yeah. What if you don't find out? Too bad. I mean, if you don't like, as much as I hate to say it, if you don't find out, then it won't be worrying you. So it doesn't really matter. But, if it ever got like really big and you were actually paying attention to the EDM scene, then, you'd see it and you'd catch it and you could really ride that wave. But if it doesn't get big, then it doesn't really matter anyway. And if someone's just stealing some of your stuff, I mean, people all the time, like, steal songs and then like collectively just post them up on their SoundCloud. But then you could kind of tell that they're not really they're not producers. They're just stealing other people's songs and then posting them up. And some people will follow them just because they like the constant stream of stuff, even though there's not enough credit. But still, in the grand scheme of things, that's just more people listening to your track. And while that might not sound like a great thing, you could go over there and see how many people watch or listen to it and how many people commented and what their comments were. And, you could kind of learn off that stuff. But yeah, if you don't figure it out, then it won't be bothering you. I mean, I don't know if anybody's... Oh, actually, I did actually look, and some people have actually pirated some of my tracks, which I thought was kind of funny, because I never thought I'd be good enough to where people would pirate my tracks. But most of my tracks are available for free downloads, so it doesn't really matter. They just kind of download them and then post them up on some other sharing site. But, I mean, it doesn't bug me, because I'm posting them up for free to begin with. And, by the way, that's a great way to get people's attention when you post up tracks for free. And yeah, so it's just, don't worry about it too much. It's something very minor. If it ever becomes like a real issue, then you could take real steps to take care of it. But if it doesn't ever get to be a real issue, then, it's not going to be bothering you enough. So don't worry about it. I worried about it for a while, and then I stopped worrying. And just because, you realize that it's less likely to happen than you think. Like, for example, when you're really new, chances are no one's going to steal your crap. When you're very established, there's a lot of people following you. If someone steals your crap, someone else is going to call them out on it. So that's why you don't really need to worry so much, because it's like, it's just not worth the pain, because more often than not, it'll take care of itself. Like, it'll either become a very obvious problem, or it'll be so small of a problem that it'll just disappear and nothing will come out of it anyway. Because, like, if one person steals your song, claims it's theirs, posts it up on their SoundCloud, and they get 10 plays, who cares? I mean, like, what's that? What does that even matter? I mean, they got 10 plays. 10 people in the whole world know that they did this. And that's not enough people to where it really matters to where you'd say that they actually really stole it. It's like, they're too insignificant. Now, if someone's getting thousands of plays on it, then, and you're not getting thousands of plays, then that might, eventually surface to become something where you'll see it. But yeah, whatever. Let me just stop talking about this. Long story short, don't worry about it. It's not something that's worth an issue. So, you just be better off. Don't worry about it. Just like post your stuff up and make sure you save all your projects in the final form, so that you have kind of like record of it, in case you ever want to challenge something. But yeah, don't worry about it. It's all cool. So yeah, just worry about producing and getting your music out there, because that's more important than worrying about if someone stole your crap. Because let's just be honest, people are gonna steal your crap. There's gonna be different ways in which they do it. Like, if you plan on being an artist, I'm going to put this sobering reality in front of you. People are going to pirate your music and they're not going to pay for it. I mean, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. Do not expect to get paid a lot of money when you post stuff up on iTunes, because everyone's going to pirate it instead of buying it. Now, when you're a smaller artist, or you're like Kashmir, where you kind of like build up this small community that gets like really solid, and then you get famous and they're like, oh, you finally got famous. Yay, I was waiting for this. Then there'll be a lot more people buying your stuff. But if you're like someone like, let's say, Blaster Jacks, not a lot of people are gonna buy Blasterjaxx's tracks. They're just gonna pirate them because that's what people do these days. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it's right. It is totally wrong in my eyes, but that's what happens. So be prepared for that to happen. If you slowly build up a fan base, though, they'll be a lot more. They'll care about you a lot more, and they'll be more likely to buy your stuff than if you just like are a one-hit wonder and you get really popular instantaneously, and everyone thinks that you were, you just like, they'll just see you as a pro. They won't see you as someone that kind of like built up a fan base and made like this cool community to hang out with. So yeah. So I saw before that submitting demos to labels is not the best way to get recognition. How true is this? Extremely true. Labels get way too many submissions and like very little comes out of them. You'd be much better off, like I said, just talking to a whole bunch of people and getting your name out there. So that, right now I have 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. If I had 3,000 followers on SoundCloud, then I'd be in a much better position to actually start like, pushing things forward and trying to get more and more people on board. But YouTube, the scale is different. You need, I think, more like 25,000 subscribers before you could actually be considered like really recognized. So yeah, $2 is way too much when you have like $1,000 songs on your iPod. Yeah, that's why I listen to Pandora rather often. I don't listen to Spotify because Spotify doesn't really pay royalties to the artists. I mean, they kind of do, but it's like very, very minimal. I actually, I got to see a label talking about they stopped putting all their songs on Spotify because it was like disrespectful how little they paid the artists for all the plays that they were getting. So I use Pandora, and I'll also use YouTube and SoundCloud because then their play count increases when you play it on there, which is good for them because then they get to see that they get that confirmation. So, but yeah, it kind of sucks to have to pay, but I mean, almost all the time you have internet, so streaming is like something you could pretty much always do. And well, I guess that might be too hasty of a generalization there, but for me, I have internet almost all the time, so I stream most of my stuff. And when I find these songs that are like amazing and I think they're totally awesome, then I buy them so I can just have them in my library and show my support for the artist. But when you start to become a DJ, it becomes a lot harder because of the sheer quantity of music that you need. But if you're really a DJ and you're not just like hiding in your room playing around as a DJ, if you actually get out and like DJ for some friends, then the money you'll be make DJing could very easily go towards buying new tracks. And that's the right way to do it. It's kind of hard to convince yourself to do it that way, but it's the right way to do it. So yeah. My biggest problem with Spotify and iTunes is they have like no remixes. I find so many amazing remixes on YouTube. Yes, YouTube is the home for remixes. SoundCloud as well, but SoundCloud, it kind of seems like there's a lot more crap to dig through on SoundCloud. YouTube, it's a lot easier to find good stuff when it comes to remixes. Because if you just like search a track name and then remix, you'll get a lot better things at the top of the list than you will on SoundCloud. This is from my experience, not always. So don't just always go to YouTube, but yeah, Spotify is like, it's not good for indies. When you're trying to find like new people that are fresh and they're just like, they're kind of in that high intermediate early pro stage, and you want to try to catch those things to hear what's cool and fresh. Not so much, gonna be on Pandora and Spotify and stuff like that, but YouTube, you'll find a whole ton of them. Proximity used to be a great place for that, but I don't know how. Like Proximity lately, it seems has been posting a lot of big artists instead of unknown artists that sound really good. I don't know, but they have some nobody's heard of this person before tracks on the YouTube page. Best way to get recognition, dude. If I knew, I'd tell you. That's what I said. I'm not too good at that. It's just that's not something that I've gone out and tried to figure out that much. Really, I think it has a lot of like being genuine to a lot of the people that listen to your music, and trying to find ways, just like unique ways to get your music out there. Now you'd have better chances, like find small music blogs. like EDM blogs. See if you could find, because there are people that want to blog about EDM. They don't want to produce EDM. They want to blog about EDM. Find their blogs and just kind of like get in a chat with them and say, hey, don't go in and say, hey, I'm a producer. Can you please, feature my track? That will not get you squat. You need to show genuine interest in what they're doing, and then they'll potentially show interest in what you're doing. So yeah, don't ask people to listen to your stuff as much as you should, actually like talk to people and stuff. That's kind of what I've picked up. And then also like handing out freebies to people is a great way to get them to like you. They like freebies. Now, one of the easier ways to do this is, instead of posting up your tracks as just always free, like post up 5 tracks, and then for like 1 week have those 5 tracks free. And then say, hey guys, for this week, these tracks are free. Grab them now while you can. And then they'll be like, oh, awesome. I was listening to those tracks and I really want them. So then they'll grab them and they'll think you're totally awesome, and they'll wait for you to do that again. So things like that. That's kind of the way to do it. You'll be living in London in a half a year. Is this an opportunity to connect with artists, big and small, personally? Yes, I think, not 100% sure, but I think the EDM scene in London is bigger than the one in the United States for the most part. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't follow the EDM scene as much as I probably should. But yeah, you definitely want to, part of the reason I'd never be good at this is because I don't really want to go to clubs. I mean, I'd like to go to festivals, but festivals are kind of like, that's aiming a little too high right off the bat. You'd be better off like seeing, like, I don't want to say talking to DJs at clubs, because they sometimes get annoyed by that because they're trying to do their job. But seeing, like, I don't know, find weird places that you could DJ, like somewhere that probably wouldn't want to DJ. See if you could DJ there. Like, for instance, you might find out that there's like a hair salon that they normally just play music. Say, hey, you want to do like a little bit of a special event where I DJ tropical house, because it's something like, that you'd hear at a hair salon. And then you kind of have like some sort of special going on, so it kind of brings in people because there's the cool music there, and you're having a sale. And so that'll kind of get me publicity, and it'll get you more publicity because you have like a live artist there. So just like weird ideas like that. Try that. Find like anything that you could do, and just try to get like out there in so many different ways. Be creative. That's what you need to do. You need to be creative. Like, I've heard of people that like get a generator, get a truck bed, and then just like drive down the street doing stuff like that. And it's pretty cool what results you come up with. Just make sure you're not doing anything illegal. So it is a like, going somewhere new is a great opportunity to expand your base. So yeah. I think hardstyle is like a strong cheese. It's rough, but it's really good if the mood's right. That mood being full of energy. A strong cheese. I've never heard hardstyle described as a strong cheese, but I think I kind of get where you're coming from. There was like, there's this one hardstyle. There's this hardstyle remix of Love 2, or is it 2 Love, something like that? I don't remember. What's it? High? It's Tuvlo. That's what it was. Or wait, no. Yeah, Tuvlo. That's why I always get it mixed up. Habits remix. Let's see if I can post this in the chat. This is... Oh, gosh. I have no idea where it is. I don't know where I found it either. But it's so cool. Oh, it's the Omega Types bootleg. Dude, this is amazing. Let me copy this and send it to you guys. This is cool. You guys need to check that out if you like hardstyle. That is a good remix of a pop track. Yep, Omega Types. Dude, that's a good one. That's like 200,000 views as well on that video. So that's a pretty good amount. Pretty solid. I totally butchered when I was talking about that artist name though. Tovlo. I totally butchered that. And then the song name too. But yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to take off. It's been like freaking 3 hours. Thank you guys so much for being in the stream. It was great getting to talk to you guys and having questions to answers and all. It was awesome. But it's been a while, so I need to get off. My throat's starting to get a little sore as well. So yeah, I need a drink, man. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Prepare your questions once again. Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. That's when the streams are. I will see you next time. Bring your questions, and we'll have fun. And actually, we'll be pretty much finishing up this track for the most part next week and maybe the week after. So stick around for that, and then we'll try to get vocals for it as well. And that'll be fun. We'll do some vocal stuff, and hopefully... And then that'll be it for this track. And I don't know what I'm going to do after that. We'll have to see. Maybe we'll take a vote. So everyone start throwing in suggestions whenever you come to the streams. Because I'll just probably take the biggest suggestion and go for that one. It'll probably be like, I don't know, progressive house, trance. You know what? I kind of want to do a trance track from scratch. Kind of. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's all up in the air. We'll see what happens. I might do dubstep because I suck at dubstep. And that'd be kind of funny to watch. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time.